she wants to be seen too. So I see her, 7 of air, kind of not necessarily disappearing, but focusing on other things. Hi everyone, welcome back to No Light Tarot. My name is Hallie, so grateful to have you all. Let's get into this reading. I'm really excited to be doing this. I am doing it on Blake Lively. Last week I did one on her and Ryan Reynolds, and this week I'm doing one on her because I just feel like a lot has come to the surface, and I'm really starting to wonder why it's all happening at the same time. Same thing with J-Lo. I did one on J-Lo before. I find it very fascinating that all of a sudden, this person that was viewed as a sweetheart in many people's eyes, all of a sudden overnight is viewed as this almost like mean girl, rude, passive aggressive, all that kind of stuff. So I don't really have any connection. Sometimes I tell like personal stories, of how I'm connected to a person or so forth. I don't really have any, haven't heard, I did hear stories. I did mention this last week. Go check out that video, or 2 weeks ago, excuse me, when I did one about her and It Ends With Us, the movie. As some of you know, I used to live in LA, I used to live in New York, and I used to meet celebrities quite a lot. My life would be kind of intertwined with a lot of them just by proxy. So I've met most A-list and a few B-list, but I met a lot of A-list celebrities by where I worked and who I dated and so forth. So because of that, I've had a lot of cross interactions. I did have somebody tell me quite a while ago that Blake Lively was not the nicest person. I kind of brushed it off. I didn't really take it seriously because I was like, most in that era, most celebrities I didn't think were nice people. I still kind of don't. But there are the few that have been very sweet. Jessica Alba is one of them who's very sweet with me. Robin Givens used to be, she used to take yoga. She took my yoga class, which was so sweet, very sweet. So there are a few that are very nice. It's funny that this clip came out of America Ferrera and Blake Lively doing Sisterhood of Traveling Pants, and I totally forgot about that movie. But long story short, I used to work in Midtown at this restaurant, and I was like the opening manager there, like a long time. It was like 10, 11 years ago. And I was like, 20? I was very young. And America Ferrera came in, and she was just very rude. She was sitting with her friend. We used to have this patio, which had 2 levels. It was a really pretty place. I think it still exists. I'm not going to shout out the name because the owner wasn't very nice to me. And he stole some of our money. But, which I ended up winning a court case against him. But anyways, long story short, she came in and she sat with her friend, and they came in like 10 minutes before closing. And she sat with her friend, and her friend had been there already. And I came when she came to the table. Her friend was very sweet, but she was very demanding. America Ferrera was very demanding and just rude. I forgot about the story because it's been so long. But when I saw that clip, I was like, oh my gosh, I served her at a restaurant. This was a long time ago, so I'm gonna give her the benefit of the doubt. But I just find the irony in her rolling her eyes at Blake Lively when she herself. And I had a friend, because apparently she lived in the neighborhood, and at that time, Midtown, kind of everybody knew everybody. It's in Hell's Kitchen, and all the neighbors knew everybody. And I had a neighbor who used to work there was a neighbor that used to work for MTV. He was a really cool guy. It was either him or his friend that told me that she was a nightmare. I was like, yeah, I did not have a great experience. I didn't even know who she really was because I wasn't into Sisterhood of Traveling Pants. But it's just ironic, when I saw that clip, it just reminded me of my experience. She wanted to get grilled vegetables, and I told her that we can't grill the vegetables because we grilled meat on the griller because she was a vegetarian. She was like, I want it grilled separately. I was like, I can grill your vegetables, I can get you grilled vegetables, but they're grilled on the same griller as the grill, excuse me, as the meat. So she got like really upset. She wanted to leave. She threatened to leave. So it was just very interesting, that experience. I forgot what ended up happening. I think that she left. She did call quite, so she started yelling and stuff, and I was just like, oh my gosh, what to do? But it's not like I had an awful experience with Cameron Diaz. And the difference is that, and I'll get back to the reading, quick story, but the difference between Cameron Diaz and America Ferrera is that I didn't really know who she was. In fact, afterwards, because we had a lot of actors working there, and one of the actors was like, oh my gosh, that was America Ferrera. And I was like, who? He was like, she was in Sisterhood of Traveling Pants. I was like, oh, my sister loved that movie, because my little sister loved that movie. But I watched like 10 minutes of it. I didn't really get into it. It's not my kind of movie. So yeah, that was my experience. I just found it ironic that she's rolling her eyes at Blake Lively. So they must have had a lot of tension. So yeah, I just find it very interesting that Blake Lively's being put through the ringer lately. And I don't agree with this, especially as somebody who has dated two famous people, very famous people. I think it's very silly. In fact, both of them have been in somewhat hot water. One of them mild hot water, the other one in laugh hot water. They've tried to cancel one of them. One of the guys I've dated has been cancelled a few times, which is it is what it is. But I strongly feel like I don't agree with this cancelling business. And sometimes I have been looking at YouTube videos of Blake Lively, being funny, and she does have I have a different sense of humor too, because I grew up in England and South Africa, and we have a very sarcastic sense of humor. Sometimes I have to watch myself in America, which I really don't like. Because in England, that's what I miss about England. Like, you can joke about anything and it's funny. And it's not taken so seriously. That's one of the things I miss. I do love living in America. But I feel like a lot of the things that she says are not really that intense. The one where she's being rude to the interviewer is horrible. I think she's definitely being a bully. But some of it, I feel like, is just in jest, like when she makes fun of one of the interviews. I thought it was actually kind of funny. So I'm not coming from a place of I like her, I don't like her. I don't want to hate anybody. I don't think it's healthy to hate anybody. I think the world needs to take a chill pill, and stop putting people on pedestals and stop idolizing people. And that's why I do these videos, to humanize people in the public light. And one of my members said that I did a good job with that with Jennifer Lopez. Same thing. I heard horror stories about Jennifer Lopez. In fact, more so. I know people that used to work for Jennifer Lopez. Some had one or two had great experiences. The rest had awful experiences. But I'm not here to tell you to hate somebody. I'm just here to tell you that behind that is a lot of the time a broken person who needs healing in some form, shape, or manner. Even behind a bully, You look at bullies, and most of the time, they don't feel good about themselves. They lack a lot of empathy, because oftentimes they grew up in situations that were not very ideal, but they couldn't really show it, In fact, I grew up with a lot of girls that are like Blake Lively, On the outside, they're pretty, they have all their life together, and inside, they're broken, In my opinion, that's what she comes across as. So I just want to give another side to that. So her Astrochart, she's a double Virgo, which is very interesting. Her sun is in Virgo, moon is in Virgo, and rising is in Leo, which is very, very telling. Very telling. And it tells me that, especially, she does have like a lioness kind of face, She really does, and that's the rising in Leo. But also that she has to kind of be the center of attention at all costs. People say that about Sun and Leos. I think it's more rising Leos, that they really need to stand out in some kind of form of way. She's naturally a brunette, right? I mean, so am I. But it's just interesting to me that, we all do certain things to stand out. We all do certain things, especially if you have Aquarius, Leo, and Scorpio placements, those fixed sign placements, and Taurus. But with her, I feel like she does it in a way. She kind of gives me, and I don't mean this in a bad way, a lot of Sun and Virgos do this, where they give pick-me energy, where they're like, oh, she's like that, but I'm different. I'm perfect for you, especially with men. I've noticed that quite a lot. So I started with her love, career, and then well-being. So with the love, I'm using the good tarot, by the way. I get Tower and the love card behind it. I didn't see this card. I've just pulled both cards at the same time and they fell out. So this is something very interesting. I want to clarify this because it's coming across as though there's a surprise. There's like a hidden surprise of her love. And you know, she is married to Ryan Reynolds. I did a video. I will have a card up throughout this video if you're watching on the app. I think I might have it at the end of the video if you're watching on a TV. And if you're watching YouTube TV. But let's see what's going on. I did a video last week about Ryan Reynolds and her, and I said that Ryan Reynolds and she, excuse me. Ryan Reynolds and he, oh, and her, excuse me. And I said that there would be something that would come to light. Like she would start working a lot. She would start focusing on herself a lot. And he would not really take to that too well. So with Ace of Cups in the traditional deck, this is Ace of Water. I see here that he almost wants to offer her, she's going to start to distance herself from him. And he wants to offer her like an offering of like, please stay with us, you know. And I did say he felt guilty that his career has taken off so much. And he kind of wants to, in order to make her stay, I think he sees her unhappy. And to make her stay, he wants to come across like he is less traditional than he is. I think he's very traditional, which is nothing wrong with that. But most women kind of feel like they need to get something out of relationships nowadays. There are very few women that just want to stay at home, and that's fine if you want to. It's totally fine if you do. I'm not judging you. But I think especially an actress type of personality that's grown up like being seen, she wants to be seen too. So I see her, 7 of Air, kind of not necessarily disappearing, but focusing on other things other than him. And he's not going to take to that too well. And I did predict them divorcing. I saw like a divorce happening in October 2025, which is around his birthday. Interesting. Time is fluid. I say it all the time that time can change, but I do see it happen in the next 2-3 years. Yeah, I see it happening in the next 2-3 years, and she's going to blame him. She's going to say, "You made me very unhappy," which might be true, might be partially true, but you know, and this is something I've had to learn, especially I think as women, we like to victimize ourselves, and we like to say, this person did this to me. In fact, I caught myself doing that a lot earlier this year. When I was dealing with somebody, and I felt I made myself the victim, and I was like, I did this for him, and I did that for him, and I did this, and I did this, and I did this, and I when I got really sick, actually, is when I decided to release any kind of animosity. And you know, I took accountability because my therapist would tell me, you know, you can't hold what you did for the other person over them. And when you've done a lot for somebody, it's kind of like an insult. Number one, when they don't give it back to you, and number two, when they're telling you that you didn't have to give it to them. You know, you're like, of course I didn't, that's why I did. But that anger creates victimhood, and in that victimhood we don't grow. You know, and there's a time to be angry. I think there's a time to be angry, there's time to heal, there's time to forgive, there's a time to go through the whole process. But staying in victimhood is different to moving on from it. And it's I see her staying kind of in the victimhood and blaming him a lot for how the relationship ended. But I see her contributing too, you know. There are some relationships, I'm not going to say here and say all relationships are 50-50. There are some relationships 30-70, 60-40. But even if it's 10% that we have contributed to a relationship, it's worth understanding why, so that we don't do it in the future, you know. And something that I learned personally from all the situation that I just expressed was that I can't force people to do for me just because I've done for them. And it's been very, very powerful. You know, you don't want people to feel obliged. They should want to. So with her career being 2 of water, which is 2 of cups in the traditional deck, I see a new partnership. I did say this, that she's going to enter a partnership with a big producing company. I think that it is Sony. And she's going to produce like a lot of like female films. And this is what I don't get behind the whole like modern feminist. I definitely, as somebody that was raised, you know, my grandfather was a feminist, my parents were feminists, but this whole era of our generation, the millennial generation of feminism, I don't get behind, you know, because I feel like I love to work, I love my independence, and that, you know, the suffragettes, you know, they were very important. Think about women around the world, how they've become so independent and strong and thriving. And you don't necessarily have to be an independent woman to be strong. You can be a strong woman and stay at home, you know. But just that ability to decide whether you want to stay at home or not, the ability to decide if you want to stay in a relationship that you're not happy in, get divorced, so forth and so forth, that I'm very grateful for. But I think we've taken it to the whole extreme, you know, when we talk about comparing men and women all the time when we're very different, you know, and there's such beauty in those differences. So she's going to kind of exploit, in my opinion, it looks like exploitation of this feminism, and it's become very commercial, which I don't like either, because there are lots of women, I feel like, I don't want to get too much into it, a lot of women that really need, I wouldn't say access, but to be exposed to just general, you know, when I think about, people ask me all the time why I prefer to live in America as opposed to any other place in the world. And even though there is misogyny here, I do recognize that. I am allowed to own my own house and I'm allowed to drive my own car. It's just, for me personally, I prefer that. I can live alone and be safe for the most part, but in a lot of places it's not. So that's what I mean about exposed. And I feel like, sorry to have gone on a tangent, but I feel like Hollywood doesn't understand the real struggles of women. And because she's not going to understand it, transformation, she's going to make a lot of movies. She's going to produce a lot of feminism type movies that's not going to connect with people. It's going to actually go very badly. That's why I went on a tangent. You know, when I was a kid, I used to talk so much. And I would never get to my point. My dad would always be like, Hallie, what's your point? And I'd be like, I don't know what my point is. I forgot. So I hope that made sense. My point of that whole explanation was that you have to, it can't just be your own version of feminism that's very commercial, whitewashed, Hollywood type. It has to really connect with people around the world. That's why I love the movie Mulan so much. I think it's my favorite movie of all time, Mulan. Is that even though it's from a different part of the world, it's from an era, I mean, it is a fairy tale, but it's from a different era. But something about her not willing to give up is, as a woman, as a girl, you know, when I was a girl watching that, I still watch it to this day, and I'm just like, wow, she didn't give up. And it wasn't because she had anything else other than the will to succeed. And yes, a part of it was because she was a female, but also because no matter who you are, there's always a will within you that you have to thrive. And there's always that will within you that if you believe in something and you make it happen, it can succeed. And you can make it happen. So if she focused more on that other than minute issues that only really pertain to a small population of the world, they will succeed. But I don't see her doing that, unfortunately. With the 8 of Cups, the 8 of Water, I see her getting some acclamation, but it's not going to do that well. I see it being more like Hollywood's gonna be like, oh my gosh, she made a movie, and everybody else can be like, this movie sucks. So with her well-being, the Hermit, which is the card of Virgo, right now she's in hiding, and I would be too, obviously. Excuse me. Right now I would be too. I really feel for her. I don't think it's necessary for people to write negative comments and stuff like that. I mean, I looked at her Instagram's like 27 negative comments, 27,000, excuse me, negative comments. I just think it's so unnecessary. But let's see what's going to save her from all of this. And I really feel for her. I have a lot of empathy. It's not very nice to go through something like that. Even if she was mean. And that's the thing. I mean, maybe I'm being a bit of a hypocrite when I myself personally have bullied my bullies, you know, because I believe in defending yourself. So I just don't know if this is the right way to handle dealing with a Hollywood bully, you know, if we just go onto their page and just like say the most mean things we can. But let's see. Oh no, my cards are falling. So let's see what's going to help her out of this situation. Okay, she's going to focus on her family life. She's going to say, Line of Fire reverse in the Chariot. She's going to say that she's, you know, being good to herself, taking care of herself, healing. She's going to lean on Ryan for now, for the next year. And then for the next 6 months to 12 months, she's going to lean on him. Then she's going to start her projects. But she's going to be very quiet. Let's see. What will the quiet? When is she in the quiet? Okay, in 3 months she's going to release a statement. 3 months from today. So today's August 27th, I think. 28th. And she's going to release a statement September, October, November. And around Thanksgiving, she's going to release a statement and say, I didn't know better, you know, blah, 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 all that kind of stuff. It's not really going to work because people are going to keep quiet until she releases these projects. She lives in a completely different world too. And, you know, that's something I had to realize when I was dating 2 celebrities. And one of them actually was a musician. And I remember my friends used to tell me, you hardly see him. Like, I'm in a true Aquarius way, I like my space in relationships, and I don't have to be with my partner all the time. In fact, I feel kind of claustrophobic when I am with my partner all the time. That's why I can't date people that I work with. But I feel like, you know, people would say to me, oh yeah, you never see him, and I saw him once or twice a week. For dating, I thought that was fine, you know, we weren't really that serious. And we talk a lot, but I had to understand and I had to see that his life is so different to mine. You know, when we go out together, women would throw themselves at him, and had to really develop I've always really had a thick skin because I used to write for a magazine and people would be ruthless in the comments. But I developed like a non-personal, not to take it personally. And that's the thing, is that when you are surrounded by people like Blake Lively, you see that there's a reality check missing, because people aren't really going to tell you the truth. And I think that's why the men that I did date that were famous liked me, because I told them the truth no matter what. You know, sometimes they didn't like it, but I had to be real with them. And I feel like nobody is really real with Blake Lively. And that's what creates this delusional person. And if somebody is real with them, she probably just goes to somebody else and says, can you believe that person? Or she probably talks to her agent. Can you believe that person? You know? And then they're like, okay. You know, after she's gotten the validation, they're like, let's not have this person around them anymore. You know, that type of energy. It's a completely different world. And unless you've been exposed to it, you don't understand how somebody can get away with being unkind for so long, or being just in their own world for so long. But I promise you, it exists. And I've met people like that. So Please let me know what you think of Blake Lively's situation, if what you think of my video. I love you all. Thank you so much for watching. Take care.